Hello students, in this lecture number 20 on IPC, I am going to discuss with you very important word that is voluntary, which has been defined in section number 39 of IPC. This word voluntary has been borrowed from the word willfully, which was used in the English law. According to section number 39, a person is said to cause an effect voluntary when he causes it, number one, intentionally, or that he knew or had reason to believe to be likely to cause it. Okay, the Supreme Court of India in Shamlal versus State of UP held that the intention and knowledge of the offender, the intention and knowledge of the offender had to be determined from the nature of the injury, the weapon used, the part of the victim's body attacked, force used, and other related circumstances of the case in question. Now let us read the bare language of section number 39. It states that a person is said to cause an effect voluntarily if, number one, he causes it by means, he causes it by such means whereby he intended to cause it. Okay, number two, he causes it by means which at the time of employing those means he knew to be likely to cause it. And number three, he causes it by means which at the time of employing those means he had reason to believe to be likely to cause it. It means an act can be done voluntarily in three ways. When you have the intention to cause it, or when you knew that it is likely to cause it, or when you have the reason to believe to be likely to cause that effect. Now let us take an illustration of section number 39. In this illustration, A sets fire by night to an inhabited house which is situated in a large town. For what purpose he set fires? For the purpose of facilitating a robbery. It means the main purpose to set the fire was to commit the offense of robbery. But what was happened? Death of a person was caused. Now the question arises whether the death of the person was caused voluntarily. Here A may not have intended to cause the death and may even be sorry that death has been caused by his act. Yet, it is very important. Yet, if he knew that he was likely to cause the death, then in that case, it shall be deemed that he has caused the death voluntarily, and he will be prosecuted for the offense of murder and not for the offense of robbery. Now it is very important to know for us what is the meaning of intention, because IPC used the word voluntarily to designate those acts which are intentional only. The IPC has not defined the term intention, although the word intention has been used in IPC at several places. So, how the meaning of intention can be made clear? It can be made clear from the common usages and customs. In common usages, intention means the purpose or desire to bring a particular result, or foresight that a certain consequence will follow from the conduct of a man. Let us take an example. If A throws a child from the top of a high tower, then it is obvious that A intended and foresaw the death of the child, because after throwing the child from the high tower, death of the child will be caused, and in that time it will be said that A had the intention to kill the child, and at that time it will be said that it had been done voluntarily, because the code has used the word voluntarily to designate intentional acts. Now it is very important to see whether the intention and motive is the same thing or they are different. The answer is intention and motive are two different words, because motive is the reason or ground of an action. That what is the reason that A caused the death of B? It is very important. Whereas intention is the active desire which compelled a person to do an act. If I have the active desire that I want to kill B, then I will put my active desire into the actions. And in IPC, intentional acts will only be liable. Let us differentiate intention and motive from an example. If A had hatred, enmity, or any other like feeling towards B, to kill him, that is only a motive of A to kill B. But if A kills B, then the intention is a state of mind which directs or which compel the act which causes the death of B from A. In criminal law, motive is not a basis for criminal liability of any person, because if you have only the motive, not the intention, then you will not commit that particular crime. Therefore, criminal law takes into account only the intention of a man and not his motive. Now it is very important to see that whether the motive is good or bad will not make any type of difference, because it is only the effect which is to be considered. If the effect is lawful, then it is okay. But if the effect is unlawful, then in that case, a good motive will not render lawful what is in fact a crime. For example, if a man steals food in order to feed his starving child, a child is very hungry, and in order to feed his starving child, if a man steals foods, then the act of stealing the food amounts to theft, in spite of the fact that the motive for the act was to save the life of his starving child. Okay? Likewise, a bad motive will not make unlawful that which is lawful. For example, an executioner may enjoy putting a convict to death. So here Motive may be bad, but the executioner is entitled to do this. But this would not render his lawful act as crime. The Supreme Court of India has also clarified, first of all, in Om Prakash versus State of Uttaranchal 2003 Criminal Law Journal 493. By mistakenly, it has been written as CRPC, but it is a Criminal Law Journal. The Supreme Court held that motive of crime is not a necessary requirement for conviction. Motive of the crime is not a necessary requirement for conviction. The prosecution needs not to prove the motive. If the guilt of the accused is proved otherwise, again in Yunis versus State of Madhya Pradesh, AIR 2003, Criminal Law Journal 817, the Supreme Court held that where the oral evidence against the accused is sufficient to prove the guilt of the accused, then the question of presence of motive is irrelevant. On the other hand, in Basdev versus State of Pepsu, AIR 1956, Supreme Court 488, it was held by the Supreme Court of India that where the essential ingredients of the offense is not established, I want to repeat it, where the essential ingredients of the offense is not established, then absence of proof of motive would be a ground for the acquittal of the accused. The Supreme Court further said that the evidence of the motive is relevant since it throws light on the question of intention and gives clue to a crime. And though the prosecution is not bound to prove motive for a crime, but absence of motive may be a factor in consideration of the guilt of the accused. Okay, if the essential ingredient of the offense had not been established, and it had also not been established that whether there was any motive to commit the offense or not, then the acquittal order should be made in favor of the accused. Because motive is something which prompt a man to form an intention. Now the next point is also very important. What is the difference between intention and knowledge? Intention is also different from the knowledge, because knowledge is the awareness of the consequences of an act. For example, if a patient gives his consent to take the risk of an operation, which operation in large proportion of cases has proved fatal, then the surgeon who performed the operation would not be punished for murder if the patient dies during the course of the operation, because in this case the death was not intentional, even though it was known to the surgeon that the operation might result in the death of the patient. He had the knowledge regarding the consequences of his act, but there was not the intention of the doctor to cause the murder of his patient. He had performed the operation of his patient in good faith to save his life. And now, another words are very important. What is the difference between knowledge versus reason to believe? Knowledge is again different from reason to believe, because in knowledge a person is supposed to know a thing where there is a direct appeal to his senses. So, for example, if I saw something, then by my eyes it has the direct appeal to my mind that this was effect. If I hear something, then it has the direct appeal through my ears what I hear. If I smell something by my nose, then it has the direct appeal by my senses and I have the knowledge regarding the smell. So a person is supposed to know a thing where there is a direct appeal to his senses. Whereas, very important, reason to believe means sufficient cause. When you have the sufficient cause to believe a thing, but not otherwise. For example, if A comes to B at night under suspicious circumstances and offers to sell a valuable watch, very important, the watch was valuable watch for rupees 20 only, then we may not know that the watch is stolen, because there was not any direct appeal to his senses that the watch is stolen. But he has sufficient reason to believe that the watch might be stolen, as is evident from the low price demanded by B. Sorry, demanded by A. So, this is something about section number 39. Thank you very much.